The MVP debate is as tight as it's ever been in 2021. At this point in the season, the race is down to maybe 2 or 3 candidates at the most, but due to the unique circumstances that the league is in, the race this year is featuring a lot more players in the conversation. With Joel Embiid and LeBron James both suffering relatively serious injuries recently, the door has swung wide open, and this has allowed for many new candidates to throw themselves into the conversation, like Damian Lillard and James Harden. Another one of them is Nikola Jokic, the superstar center of the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic has been an absolute monster in the 2021 season, continuing his excellence from Denver's surprising playoff run last year. He's yet again leading Denver to another high playoff seed so far, and is making the case to be the best center in the league currently, as well as perhaps the greatest offensively skilled center of all time. But can he actually win the MVP? In today's video, I'm going to be making the case for Jokic's legitimacy as an MVP candidate in 2021, and why I personally believe that he's not only a candidate, but the front runner for it, ahead of guys like Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to reach 16,000 subscribers, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about Nikola Jokic. As I mentioned, Jokic has been on a tear this season. In 42 games, he's averaging 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 8.6 assists, and has led Denver to a 5th seed with a record of 25-17. In the last 10 games, Denver has gone 8-2, and Jokic is averaging 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists in those matches, and is shooting 60% from the field and 45% from 3. The Nuggets started slowly to begin this season, going 1-4 in their first 5 games, but that was in no way Jokic's fault, as he constantly had to lift Denver on his back and try carry them to a win, seen in his multiple 40 and 50 point performances this season. Murray and the bulk of the cast were inconsistent, particularly in the opening couple months, and it's why at times Jokic had to start making plays for himself more often. However, his supporting cast has definitely stepped it up as of late, allowing Denver to succeed more proficiently, with the 2-man game of Murray and Jokic being elite at times, sometimes looking unstoppable when they both play at their best. Jokic's playmaking has continued to be phenomenal in 2021, his scoring creation game has taken another leap as well, particularly in post play. That area in his game has become a lot more refined from what I've seen, and it's allowing him to be increasingly dominant as the season has gone on. That's led me to believe that Jokic has been the definition of the MVP this season. Take him off the Nuggets team right now, and they'll be struggling to be in the playoffs. He is essential to their success, just as much as any other superstar in the league is to their own team right now, like Giannis is to Milwaukee or Curry is to Golden State. And I believe that's been made incredibly clear this season. His fantastic play has allowed for the noise in his MVP campaign to heat up, especially with the Nuggets winning more and more as of late. But now, let's take a deeper look at his case for the award. There are 3 keys to winning an MVP as seen in previous NBA history: great stats, a winning team record, or a top 3 or 4 seed in the respective conference, and occasionally a strong narrative and storyline, which can be essential to pushing a player over the line. So, how does Jokic meet this criteria, and why does he meet them over any other candidate right now? Firstly, we'll go over his stats. I went over some of his box score numbers before, which are great in their own right and are MVP caliber level stats, but they don't really show the full picture or describe just how great Jokic has been this season. So let's get a bit more advanced. Jokic has a true shooting percentage of 65%, one of the best in the league and 8% above league average. He's also got a ridiculous box plus minus of positive 11.9, which currently leads the league by a long shot and really displays how valuable he is to the Nuggets. His offensive talent is particularly established in this stat, with him having a league best offensive box plus minus of positive 9.3. I mean, that's just crazy. To put into perspective just how great that is, Giannis led the league last season with a box plus minus of 11.5 and was considered to many the unanimous MVP. So Jokic is doing better than that. It's just wild. He also has a win share score of 9.7, which essentially means he's purely responsible for 10 wins the Nuggets have recorded this season. Again, it's crazy what he's doing. Combine all that extra context and advanced numbers with his general stats of 27, 11, and 8, Jokic looks like a prime candidate for the MVP if he stays healthy for the rest of the season. Health also being a huge advantage for him too in this race, but I'll go more into depth on that later. Jokic also is close to meeting the second key to winning the MVP, and that's team success. In all of NBA history, a solid 98% of MVP winners have been a top 4 seed in their respective conferences, and whilst Jokic and the Nuggets currently sit 5th, they're only 1.5 games behind the slumping Clippers. So with 30 games to go in the season, it's very likely the Nuggets can rise up to 4th or higher in the West, especially if they maintain the form that they're currently in. Denver has the second best offensive rating in the league and are overall top 5 in net rating, and a large reason for that is because of Nikola Jokic, so he should deserve credit in that aspect to me. As for the storyline, Jokic doesn't really have one that I believe would strongly motivate voters, but I don't think that will matter hugely this time around. Jokic is dominating statistically, he's been clutch and has had many memorable performances we can look back on this season, and the Nuggets are winning too, so this won't be a huge issue in my eyes, if at all. But with that being said, why is Jokic my favorite to win the MVP over other top candidates? Firstly, he beats out his biggest competition in Joel Embiid simply because he's been healthier and will have played more games end of season come. Right now, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. They are both so dominant in their own way, but with Embiid out now for an extended period of time and with him already missing multiple games earlier this season, this does put the hand in Jokic's favour, in my opinion. Against Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's quietly rising in the conversation as a late threat, I think voter fatigue will eliminate his chance to knock off Jokic. Giannis has been great again this season, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been historical either, and to me, that's what I expected Giannis needed to do to lock up his 3rd straight MVP award. The Bucks' success isn't on the same degree as last season too. They sit in the 3rd seed, and last year they were on track for 65 plus wins before the suspension. So whilst he and Milwaukee are still having a fantastic season, it's not enough for voters to give them the award again, in my book. People want to see more out of Giannis in the playoffs rather than the regular season, so for that reason, I think Jokic would be more likely to poll votes over him when the time arrives. For James Harden, who's also come around a lot as of late in the MVP convo, Jokic to me just beats him out in all facets. Whilst James Harden has been super impactful to Brooklyn, I think it's unlikely he locks up the MVP, as a lot would have to go his way to do so, especially considering how little time he's spent with Brooklyn too. Also, Jokic is really the only superstar on his team, so I think voters may consider him more valuable to his team's success rate compared to being on a super team like Harden is, so that could hinder Harden's ability to steal this trophy out of nowhere. The next candidate is Steph Curry, who is currently having one of the best individual seasons of his career. However, Golden State's success has been somewhat poor, so whilst I'd give Curry the edge barely in terms of stats and impact compared to Jokic, the Warriors just aren't winning enough for me to definitively say that I'd think he'd win the award over Nikola. And finally, Damian Lillard. who out of anyone here is the player I believe has the strongest case to win the award after Jokic. To be honest, I nearly made this video about Lillard instead, and I'll probably still make a video on his case for the award later this week, because he has just been so good this season and is doing an equally great job in leading the Blazers to a high seed out west. However, the one thing that I believe will hold Lillard back from winning this award over Jokic is the Blazers' record and schedule ahead. According to Tankathon.com, the Portland Trail Blazers have the third hardest schedule in the entire NBA for the remainder of the season, whilst Denver has the fifth easiest. Over 30 games, that's going to cause a big disparity between the teams most likely, and allow Denver to climb up the standings while Portland may fall or stick around the 5 to 6 seed they're currently near if they work hard. Again, to me, Lillard has an equally great case as Jokic, and I'll discuss it more in a future video, but I think the hand is in Jokic's favour to take this award home if Denver makes the most of their upcoming schedule. Overall, this is why I have Nikola Jokic taking home the NBA MVP in 2021. He has been incredible this season, being one of the most fun players to watch with his crafty playmaking and offensive dominance, and as a result, the Nuggets are quietly climbing the standings in the Western Conference. He's been statistically great this season too, having the best season of his career in that area, and with all things considered against other candidates, I really don't know how you could go past him for the award. Embiid and Lebron are missing substantial time with injuries. Curry hasn't been winning consistently on Golden State, voters aren't likely to favour Giannis. All things here are aligning perfectly for a successful Jokic MVP campaign. Assuming the Nuggets continue this level of play, barring any injury to Jokic, this is his award to lose. It is almost in his grasp, and I believe within the next month or so, it may not even be that much of a debate over whose award this is. It's a bit hard to decipher now, but I'm confident Jokic has got this in the bag and will bring home to Denver their first ever franchise MVP in the NBA merger era. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? Will Nikola Jokic win the MVP this season to you, or is there another candidate you believe will take it home instead? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.